In 2006, two games were released under the same main title, World War II Combat. The first game is Road to Berlin, and the other is Iwo Jima. This series would only see two titles and would never be continued. Instead, it would fall into obscurity. Why are these two games forgotten? And why do they never see a third release? Well, let's find out. Spoiler alert, they are absolutely awful. But you also didn't need to see gameplay to know that. You see that logo? Groove? That is not a welcoming logo, as they published so much garbage. The best example I can think of this when it comes to Groove off the top of my head is Road to Fiddler's Green. With the power of the internet, we can confirm that yes, these two games were budget releases. Both games were developed by Direct Action, who are a budget label of Zombie Head Studios. You may recognize Zombie Head for Shadow Ops Red Mercury or Blacklight Retribution, and maybe the awful Saw games. I covered Shadow Ops Red Mercury back when I used to do patron-only videos, back when I had a Patreon. If you'd be interested in hearing my thoughts about that game, I would redo that video because I kind of like talking about it, even though I hate that game. First, let's look at Road to Berlin. This is a very obnoxious and loud intro, so I'm kind of just going to sum it up for you. The war is almost over. The Soviets are close to taking Berlin, and you play as an Allied operative who is sent in to make sure none of the cool technology falls into the hands of the Soviets. There's missiles, jet fighters, all kinds of stuff that you are meant to sabotage. It's a very classic World War II story. Other games have had a similar plot. The levels have a very basic structure. It's your typical corridor shooter. Run straight, kill things. Sometimes you plant a charge to blow something up. Then there's bonus objectives where you take pictures of documents or chalkboards. The rewards is history facts. It's something at least. Where the game tanks is the gunplay itself, which, is a problem in a first-person shooter. The aiming is so scuffed, like you could aim down sights, but it's very unreliable. So instead, use the crosshairs and hope. Honestly, the meta for playing this game is rushing down enemies. Range is not your friend, unless you have a sniper rifle. There are sniper segments, and that kind of works. It's one of the few times the game is satisfying, as dudes' heads will explode if you get a headshot. It's not all the time, I'm not sure what determines it, but it's very cool when it happens. But they had to ruin the sniper rifle by making the main character take 15 years to shoot, bolt, and aim back down the scope. It is frustratingly slow, and it doesn't help that when you are in the heat of a moment and you need to switch to a secondary because you're trying to reload or you're doing the bolt action, he takes forever. He has to finish his animation before he whips out the pistol. I don't have a footage of that in Road to Berlin, but I do have examples of that in the next game. At one point you get a BAR, which is the best gun in the game. It's very accurate and it kills in like one shot. But for this gun and this gun only, Road to Berlin decides it's time to simulate weapon weight, because you move so slow with it equipped. You move at a snail's pace. In a game with no sprinting that's already pretty slow, walking around with the BAR is just so sleep-inducing. The gunplay is just so mediocre, and it doesn't help that you get a random weapon each level. Even though the level transitions imply that the main character is on the same mission, he's going from point A to point B, he'll just ditch the BAR and start back with a Thompson. There's no picking up weapons or holding more than two. The game is genuinely one of the most uninteresting shooters I've played in a long time. The highlight is this gross-looking water that kills you if you even just dip your toe into it. What is this, Lake Norman? That is a very specific joke to North Carolina, but let's just say I wouldn't swim in Lake Norman, and you probably shouldn't either. The level with the water is actually one of the most interesting levels in both games. It had this kind of horror feel to it. I quite enjoyed this level. Too bad it's the only one I did. The game is just generally boring. Thankfully, it only lasts a few hours, and the only reason it's that long is because there's no healing mid-level, so sometimes you have to restart the whole level because you hit a checkpoint with like 1 health. The only thing that is extending playtime is the surprising fact that there's tacked on multiplayer with bot support, so it was kind of fun exploring these levels and trying out the multiplayer, so to speak. God, I feel like I wasted a few hours of my life with no gain. Like, why did I do this? And I still gotta talk about the second game, which is Iwo Jima. Alright, here we go. Let's just get it over with. This main menu was kind of sick. The music, the real life footage going on in the background, I really like this main menu. And the opening cutscene's even better. There's all these boats and stuff, and then you're on one, and you get off, and you're in the woods, and you're charging in. It's much better than the opening of Berlin. In Berlin, you were like in an apartment, and the game just started. When I saw all this, I was like, okay, maybe this is more competent. I like the ambience, you know? I started with the sniper, which, you know, was okay at first. I was enjoying it, and then a random moment of voice acting happened.
Sarge told me to watch for these Japanese signs. This means there are mines and you don't want to go there.
And I started having close quarters interactions, and the fact that it takes forever to reload and switch weapons in the heat of the moment, like I mentioned before, everything began to kind of wear on me. I played these games back to back. I started to get a little frustrated, but the moment that actually broke me was on this level where I'm running through these trenches, killing dudes, and then I heard this. Did you hear that? Let me replay it. I shut the game off at that point. I can't take this anymore. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about Iwo Jima, and to be fair, there's really not much I could say that's new. It's basically a reskin, but it is more competent. The music's better, the scenery's better, the level design, you know, it's still a corridor shooter, but everything's pretty much the same, just with a different coat of paint. The multiplayer's still here with the bot support. I guess my tolerance for crap has faded somewhat. Or maybe World War II combat's just that bad. Guess I need to build that tolerance back up, or play something decent, or go back to Saturn. I don't know. The next video is currently undecided, so I guess we'll see what I end up doing. I don't know. I've been in a kind of a rut lately. I'm not sure what I want to record. And again, for some reason, I decided that this was a good idea. Anyway, I'm going to go play something else. I'm going to go forget these games ever existed. I'm going to put them back on the shelf and hope I never boot them up ever again. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video of whatever that may be.